Welcome, guys. Welcome to today's podcast with the Yogi and the Blonde. Michelle and I are just, for those that are watching, we're kind of like dancing because we see the countdown to the recording. So we're like,
quite in sync, despite being islands apart.
Islands apart, so far apart. Welcome, guys. Today's episode is about the brain, and we are calling it Brain Boost: Secret to a Healthy Brain. And it's quite interesting because this was, what's the word? It was inspired from a post that Michelle shared from Dr. Stacy Sims. And this was like the planting of the seed of, hey, let's do an episode on this. And also where I'm working, which is Maria Hot Springs, doing what we call sauna infusions, which is hot cold therapy. So, and we just thought, and just things that I've been learning through doing hot cold therapy and with what Michelle shared and what we were reading on there about exercise and how that helps with brain health as well. Now, so thank you for the inspiration, Michelle, on this one.
Thank you, Dr. Stacy Sims, for the inspiring post. Well, that's it. We always talk about the benefits of exercise. We are exercise professionals. We exercise ourselves. We encourage and help other people to exercise. And a lot of people tend to think of exercise as our body. But what's really exciting is just how much we're learning now about how beneficial exercise is for your brain as well. So, just more cool stuff that we get from exercising. The magic pill.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we spoke about, like, with doing saunas. For those that aren't aware, when you're doing a sauna, what the sauna does is, when doing it on a regular basis, like anything we are talking about, it's not just doing once and you're healed, but it's about incorporating it into your daily life. Okay, so it's like you go to the gym 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times a week. It's the same thing. So it's about what you do every day, not what you do once in a while. So with the sauna, when you start doing that, studies show they did a test group of them doing once a week compared to those that do 4 to 7 times a week. This is part of the longevity study. And those that do 4 to 7 times a week, what it does, it helps lower the risk of things of like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, cardiovascular disease. And when you think about that, what's the common thing with all that is about your blood flow. And it helps increase your blood flow. And especially when you start adding the cold plunging, the cold side effect, because then it's doing the expansion extraction of your veins. And your veins, as we age, they start to stiffen. So with that, as it starts to exercise your veins, so this is what it's doing. So going into a sauna is actually cardiovascular work. So it's like having a workout, even though cardiovascular wise, which is really good for your body. So that means the blood flow is going into the brain. So those that aren't watching, I'm using hand movements. My mom and I were talking the other day, and she goes, people that are French speaking speak with their hands. And I was just noticing that right now. So sorry.
You were just pointing to where the brain was, just in case people weren't aware.
So I don't know. I find that fascinating. And each time I think about it and I share it with people when I guide them through sauna infusions, I give them educate them on things of how this affects your body and so on and so on. So yeah, that's quite fascinating. I love it.
I would like to find somewhere where I can do a bit of sauna stuff, because I have quite poor circulation. I have Raynaud's syndrome. So I suffer in the cold. So the idea of cold therapy terrifies me, but I feel like I need, and I also have varicose veins. So I feel like I need to pay more attention to my vascular health and my blood flow, because I am concerned that as I age, I might start to see problems there. So I'm going to see if I can find a sauna.
Do you know what?
On my island.
So what I say to people, because not everybody's got access to a sauna and a cold plunge and stuff. So what you could actually do is just do that in your shower. So you have your shower in normal water temperature, then crank it to hot, and then crank it to cold, and you get the contrast happening. But
Honestly,
yeah,
I
it's
think of cold and I get cold.
do you know what? I totally get it. I totally get it. And fascinating. I just did a sauna infusion like not too long ago today, and I had a couple in there, never done it before or anything like that. And when I explained to them, oh, we're going to be doing hot cold therapy, so 15 minutes in here, we'll pop into the cold plunge, then come back in here for another 15 minutes, and then back into the cold plunge, and then we do this body scrub for that 11:30 a.m. one, and then pop into the hot pools and warm up. It's like it's quite cool. I love it. And they were like, ooh, cold. Like, a lot of people like, oh, cold. But they did it and they loved it. There's a lot of other benefits, and we can talk about cold plunging at another episode, actually. We can talk about that as well. But today is all about the brain boost. So that's one of the things that does with the brain boost on that. Now, also what sauna does as well, is, which we're going to talk about with the strength part of the things with the brain, is it slows down the loss of the muscle. What is that word? How do you pronounce it again, Michelle?
Sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia is where your muscles reduce in size.
Yeah. So
strength.
when you do sauna, it does, what's that it's not hypertrophy, it's
OMG, atrophy.
Atrophy. That's it. That's the word I was looking for, was atrophy. So atrophy, it stops it. That's meaning it stops from you losing the muscle. So it not stops, but it slows it down. Because as we age, you don't use it, you lose it. And we start losing muscles. And as females, when we start losing our estrogen too, we start to also lose the muscle mass a lot easier, especially when we're not using it. So, Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit more about the Dr. Sims study, and you were talking about with the strength and the brain?
So it wasn't a study by Dr. Stacey Sims herself, because she does conduct research, but it was just a study that she referenced and shared. And what it looked at, and actually it's interesting, they couldn't figure out what the mechanism is, but what they found is that people that had sarcopenia, which was muscle loss and wastage with age, tended to have a higher prevalence of conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's. So they looked more into this, and they don't know what the mechanism is and why muscle loss seems to have a link with these brain diseases, I guess. But they did do further studies into it. And what they found is that people that had not necessarily more muscle mass, but more strength, had people with less strength. Let me say it this way instead. People that had less strength were 2.5 times more likely to have dementia or Alzheimer's later on in life. So what they suspect the mechanism is a protein that's released from the muscles that has a positive impact on your brain. So basically what they want to use as one of their screening tools for finding out if people are likely to have Alzheimer's or dementia is ratio of muscle mass. Because if you have less, you are probably more likely to suffer from one of these horrible illnesses later on in life. Because for me, I just find those illnesses just the worst.
They are.
On its own, I mean, I know that you've experienced it firsthand. Like, it's, for me, they just seem like the cruelest illnesses ever. So for me, I think in a way it's exciting that these things are starting to happen, because these are things that you can do something about to reduce your risk of experiencing that in your own life, and the people around you, you can kind of influence them as well. Because basically, if you can do as much work as you can when you're able to increase your muscle mass and your strength, you are massively reducing your risk of experiencing these horrible illnesses as you age. And for me, that is so high up there on one of the reasons why I exercise. Like, surely that's, you know, because these muscle loss, and Nadia's already mentioned some of the other morbidities, morbidities you can have as you age with your cardiovascular health. And, there are so many other things that happen. And strength training helps with those as well. Being stronger, having more muscle mass helps with other morbidities. I said it again. Morbidities later on in life as well. So,
Well, if you think about it as well, because this is something I've been really pondering and thinking about. If you think about when you do a workout, doesn't matter if it's cardiovascular or you're just lifting weights, you're increasing your heart rate, right? And because you're also warming up your body, you're then expanding the arteries as well. And then when you cool off, they contract. So by that as well, I don't know, I just keep going back a lot to the blood for myself. I've been thinking a lot about the blood because, well, if we don't have blood, we need blood flow for the body to work, right? You need blood flow. That's what your hormones use the blood to travel around. It's a highway for your blood. Is the highway for the hormones is your blood. I got that.
we're both struggling with our words today.
It's all good. So if what you think about it, I find that fascinating. So if that's that, and then I remember when I did therapy a long time ago, I was doing this for about a year every week, and part of the during that time, not the whole 11 months, but a good portion of it, I think about 4 or 5 months, we did neurofeedback, and neurofeedback is about training yourself to bring blood flow back into the brain, into the frontal vortex, and you wear this contraption on your head. I walk in, it'll be at the end and the beginning of the session. He takes a photo of my brain, and if it's all black, that means there's no blood flow. But when he takes a photo and you see like the orange and the red, that means there's blood flow to the frontal vortex, which helps with people with mental health issues, all that kind of stuff, and meaning that you're actually processing things rather than just being turned off on autopilot. And how he would do this is I would wear this contraption, I'd wear headphones, and I'd watch a movie. I found that so funny that I was watching a movie with my therapy, and I'd be watching a movie, and when it became aware that I didn't have blood flow in the frontal vortex, the movie would pause, it'd stop, and then there's this bar, this graph on the side, and I'd have to use my breath because that's how you manage your nervous system is through your breath. So you got to control it and extend your exhale to be able to come back into a calm state and using your breath. And once that bar came back up, the movie would start playing again. And so at the end of the session, he'd take a photo. It's a special lens camera of my frontal vortex, and notice the difference. And what's interesting, talking about this right now, as I'm talking to you, Michelle, I just clued in because I didn't do my breath. I wasn't breath certified then because this was a long time ago. It was probably a good 8 years ago, I think. And I didn't do my certification, and now just talking it out loud, everything makes total sense on how that all works and how that helps. So, to help with the nervous system, we've got to be breathing correctly. Then that helps with the blood flow to get into different areas of the body. Because if we're in flight fright, our blood flow stays in our limbs and in our arms and legs and our limbs, and doesn't come into the organs and the digestive system as well. So that means it's not coming into the brain as well. Does that make sense, or does it
100%. Yeah. And it shows you just can't separate these things out. Everything matters. Everything matters. So, that's why, you can go to the gym 5 times a week, but then if you
don't
smoke
hydrate,
and you live a very stressful life and you don't hydrate and you don't eat well, that doesn't negate these other things. Everything works together. So
yeah, because you need hydration, because your body is about 70 to 80% water. But did you know that your blood is 90% water? And your blood is the highway for your hormones. So you want to make sure you're well hydrated.
Yes.
It's like
everything comes.
I just seriously, I love it. It just makes me go.
It makes your brain boost with excitement.
It does, and it's just like, oh, that makes total sense. And I just like having those a bit of aha moment. And I love the fact that I had an aha moment with you while on the podcast.
Now, yeah.
Actually, just because sharing that experience and then linking everything. Oh, that's why that was, because we were doing that, and he was quite adamant, because I've been practicing yoga and I knew about the breath but didn't know the mechanics of how the breath affected you. So it makes sense, and it makes sense to why he's like other people that he's worked along with, he'd have to work a long time doing the neurofeedback with them for it to show that a week later I'd come back and there wouldn't be much difference. There would be like that improvement from black to where I come back the next following week, and it still got good blood flow compared to when I first started. I'd come back and it was black and it'd be splotchy, and then the next week I'd come back and be splotchy, and then after quite of a quick turnaround, I think it was like a month or two turnaround, you seen like a mass difference. It was quite interesting.
And now you know why.
Yes. Well, also the thing, like Michelle was saying, it's like everything that we need to do with it. And the other thing is nutrition. Nutrition is so important. We all know good fats like the fish oils and stuff is really good for us. Now, Michelle, can you explain about the creatine, how that helps with our brain? Because that's something that they talk about menopause women should be doing, or perimenopause women should be taking as well.
Should be taking creatine. And we have done a whole podcast about creatine. So if creatine is something that interests you, go and listen to the podcast episode about creatine, because we go into quite a bit of detail. But basically, creatine is a molecule that is stored in our bodies. We create it, we consume it. And it's stored in our muscles and also in our brain. So creatine can be found in meat products, shellfish, things like that. But it can also be supplemented, because most people probably aren't getting enough creatine. So creatine isn't just something for working out. A lot of people take it because this is getting a little bit sciencey, but when we're doing explosive movements or we're doing things like lifting weights, the initial oomph part of the energy actually comes from the phosphocreatine system, which is the separation of a creatine molecule and a phosphorus molecule.
Michelle, is that having to do like
ATP?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. That has to do with APT. Yes. Okay, I'm like, hey, I know what you're talking about. That burst. Yeah, that's APT.
The phosphocreatine system. Yep. So this is what we learned at PT school. So,
I didn't know about the creatine would affect that. I didn't realize the creatine affect that. So I learned something. Thank you. I realized
that. So it's the phosphocreatine system. So the separation of those modules is where that ATP comes from, to give us that initial boost before we start moving on to other energy systems. So anyway, a lot of people take creatine because having more of it means we can be a bit more explosive. So if you're training, it's a good thing to take. But the exciting thing is that it's not just for that, because we store it in our brain. The more creatine we have, the happier, I guess, our brains are. So even if you're not somebody that cares that much about how much I want to get a personal best in this, or I'm a sprinter or whatever, you should still take creatine anyway. Even if you just don't do any gym training, you should still take creatine anyway, because it's a molecule that we store in our brain, and it's been shown, and I think it's being studied more widely now, that it has neuroprotective properties. So again, it helps to protect our brain for future proofing it. So creatine is great. And as Nadia said, the fish oils, good fats are good, again, for our brain health. Omega-3, omega-6. It's good specifically for keeping our brain happy, because the brain has to be nourished too. the
Yeah.
most one of the most important organs in our bodies. So we've got to keep it churning. We can't just fuel it on caffeine all the time. Got to
No.
give it the good stuff.
No, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's fascinating about the creatine, because I just like, I knew that it was good for that, but I didn't realize that it helps with the APT, which is quite cool. Now, I on that note as well, if you have any kidney issues, diseases, or anything, best to talk to your healthcare practitioner, your
About
GP, your
creatine.
doctor. Yeah, talk to them about that, because that can put a lot of pressure on your kidneys if it's not fully functioning. So just keep in mind of that. As I have a kidney disease, I've been playing around with creatine, but I take probably nothing as much as Michelle would be taking. I just take a little bit, tiny time, but I've been talking to someone. So if you do have kidney disease or any kidney issues, or your function of your kidneys aren't 100%, please talk to a health practitioner, a health professional. Okay. I just wanted just
Indeed.
to
No,
state
thank you.
that.
Thank you. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, a good disclaimer. Now, the other thing is too, like, physical exercise is important, but we also need brain exercise. And there's things that you can do. So things like luminosity, that's a brain. So you play a lot of different types of games. It could be memory, it could be puzzles, it'll be numbers, various things like that. But another thing is reading out loud. Reading out loud is actually really good for the brain. Puzzles, also balancing, like having to balance. You actually, it's a full body workout because you're working your stability muscles, your core, and all that. But you've got to focus. So it's bringing that focus into it. So that balance is quite good, and that's one of the exercises I've got to do to build up my ankle strength back up. So is a balance. Just stand there and balance.
Oh, so now you can be happy in the knowledge that you're also helping your brain as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
So the
funny you mentioned that app. I don't know if it was called Luminosity, but I remember it was like a phase when brain training games started to come out. And there was one where you did like a practice test and it told you how old your brain was versus how old you were. I
yeah,
think it was a load of rubbish. Like it was just a free thing. Like this is when apps first came out, probably. But I remember it was like a real craze. Like everyone was doing these tests to see how old their brain was versus how old they were, and getting really into all of these brain teasers. It was
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Oh, cool. That is quite cool, actually.
I can't
But
remember what it was called.
yeah, luminosity, you can get the free one, which is, you get like 3 games, and it's all memory. It's memory. It's fast counting. It's colors. It's various things, and it really, yeah. Some of them I hate because they're bloody hard, and I struggle lots with. But we got to do the things that it's challenging, don't we?
Mm.
It gets the brain going.
Yeah.
It's a
But
brain
you've
booster.
just made me just think of something in regards to nutrition with the brain. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're like really like spending a day focusing on something or learning something, and you're really using your brain for reading, consuming information, you might be like have a headache or feel like absolutely fatigued from it. It's because your brain uses energy as well.
Yeah,
Your preferred energy source for the brain is glucose can cross the blood brain barrier. So you also need to fuel your brain literally to work, because it will get to a point where your brain's like, no, I haven't got any energy.
energy. Yeah, yeah,
The other
yeah,
thing that
yeah.
crosses the blood brain barrier is ketones. So when some
Yes.
people go on a
Keto
keto
diet.
diet, they don't die, because the body switches to producing ketones instead. So that
Yeah,
can also cross and keep you alive.
yeah. But
Um,
that's quite a bit. I'm just gonna state on that. It's quite interesting, like looking at keto diet, because a lot of people think, oh, this is keto, but it's not. When you're doing like soy products, gluten products, all of that is not keto. And when
mm,
you do keto, you need to hydrate massively, and you need to start adding like Himalayan salt to your water to keep up with your hydration to be able to flush things out. A lot of
mm,
people don't realize that they need to really have really good hydration when doing a keto diet. I just wanted to
yeah.
state that.
I
um,
would just rather not
create a
do the
balance.
keto diet, anything that severely restricts natural food groups. Probably I'll just avoid that.
But again, I'm gonna say for some people that is actually that works for their body.
Mm.
That's
And
best for
actually,
them.
it has been shown that it helps people with epilepsy somehow.
See, and this is why it's like one person's food is another person's
Mm.
poison, man.
Yeah.
It's not one diet will fit for everyone,
Mm.
and I think we all need to be keep in mind of that. But we need to have good things like good fats. We need to have good sources of protein. You need to make sure you're getting your grains, your microgreens, your all your good macros. And when we think about carbs, I know there's a lot of scariness around carbs, but we need good healthy carbs. Rather than white rice, go brown rice. You get more nutrients out of that brown rice. And the other thing is too is you can soak it. Like there's a lot of things you can do. I'm going a bit on a different tangent here rather than our brain.
It's because
Our
we were
brains,
talking about fueling the brain.
yes, fueling the brain, so it just does that. But
Mm.
anyways, that could be for another day. I think we've pretty much
Yeah.
touched base. We
Yeah.
just wanted to touch base on that and
Yep. Love your
share.
brain. Look
Yeah,
after it. And if
be,
you're
be
already doing cool things, feel good that actually you're doing good things for your brain as well.
you're
Boosty
hydrating,
bonus.
good for the brain. You are
Hydrate,
eating good
exercise.
fats, good for the brain. You're
Yeah.
balancing, you're reading out loud, you are working out, you're going into the sauna.
Yeah. It's all good
Because
for your brain as well.
the
Perfect.
other thing, actually, let's go back to one thing is also we missed out on is sleep. The benefits of
Mm.
sleep. Sleep is so, so important when we get into our REM and deep sleep. That helps with our memory, with our recovery. We think about muscles of just the physical muscle, but like Michelle said, our brain is also muscle. So it needs to be worked out, but it also needs that good sleep. So saunas, actually, studies show that the sauna helps people have better sleeps in that way because it helps
Mm.
calm you down. And it brings that blood flow to the brain, which helps with all that and helps with the oxygen. So thinking about like also working on your sleep. And
Mm.
I know this, a lot of people like, oh, it's the weekend, but going to bed at the same time 7 days a week and getting up
Mm.
at the same time 7 days a week is so, so important.
Mm. That's funny, actually, that you said that. One of my online clients this week has said that she's been struggling to sleep. So she said, I'm playing around with different bedtimes. And I said, no, actually, don't do that. Try and find a consistent bedtime. Look at your schedule and find a bedtime that's going to work consistently and try that. Don't say, oh, I'm going to try and stay up a bit later tonight, or I'm going to go to bed earlier tonight. It's the consistency that your
Mm-hmm.
body wants. It doesn't want to experiment. Same bedtime and same wake up time as well, if you can.
Mm.
Um, I wake up at 4:45 every day, and I'll be honest, on a weekend I turn my alarm off, but I still wake up around 5 a.m. So naturally now. Um,
I've
because
got an
yeah, it's a
alarm.
Sunday, but it's my body. So
Yeah,
it
I've
wakes
got an
up.
alarm that goes off at 6 a.m., but I'm up between 4 and 5 all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I have the alarm there just in case. And the other day, I haven't worked in the evening in a long time because I'm usually exhausted by 7, 8 p.m. I'm like tired. But I was working and it was like until quarter to 10 at night. And I went to bed, I think it was about 11:30 by the time I got settled in and stuff. And that's really late for me. And I slept until just before my alarm went off. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But the thing is,
Mm,
though, I was quite surprised. I thought I'd be up at 4 or 5. But I think
mm,
because I've been training my body so much lately, as of lately, because going to bed early, and it just automatically got, okay, she went to bed a bit late today. That's okay for a one off,
mm,
but not a consistent thing.
mm,
And there's what is it called, HBT or something like that. It's a hormone growth, and it peaks at between 10 and 12 p.m. 10 a.m. and 12 a.m. And they say that's why you need to have like your deepest sleep during that time, because that helps with the brain recovery and all of that. So try to be in bed sleeping before 10 p.m. so you can get the the benefits of getting that. Now I can't remember what it's
I think it's
called.
called BN
No, it's geez,
BPNF something, some brain
it's no,
derived
no, 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 no,
neurotropic.
no,
Not
no,
that
no,
one?
no, 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 no. It's not that.
Okay. We'll have to look that one up.
Yep. I'll relook that up because I heard it.
Mm.
I was listening to some things and stuff, and I was like, ooh, and I know I want to re-listen to it because I want
Yeah.
to write some notes down. I was driving, so
Keep us posted.
we'll do. Okay, I think that's enough for us
Okay.
from
Yes.
today. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember to like, follow, and don't be afraid to let us know if there's something that you guys want us to dive deeper in, or anything you guys want us to cover. The more that we get comments of what you guys like, what you don't like, actually helps us guide to be able to educate in like our quirky Yogi and the Blonde podcast. Well, thanks for joining, guys, and
Thank you all.
see
See you
you
next time.
later. Ciao.